YouTube. So today we're going to be removing the transmission out of this 1985 CUCV. I know it looks like a Silverado trim Blazer, but it is indeed a CUCV. Now if we go under here, we're going to be doing a transmission replacement, so there's a lot of things that actually need to come out. We'll be looking at removing the rear drive shaft, front drive shaft, the cross members, vacuum lines, kick down switch, you name it, it's coming out. So in this video we're going to go through hopefully a walkthrough guide. This will be my first time doing it as well, and hopefully we'll be able to learn some things along the way. I'll share you anything that I find, and alright, let's get started. Alright, I want to apologize for any wind noise. I am under here. It is windy, but anyways, at least in the case of a lot of the square bodies, they don't have a fixed yoke here. It's a slip yoke, so as you can see, this slides in and out. You probably won't have this double joint. This was a custom drive shaft. You should have one joint, but the steps are all the same. We want to start by actually removing these four retaining bolts that hold the U-joint. You are going to want to tape these off. Try to pull it out uniformly. These caps will fall off in case you ever done that before. Then you would slide this back out. Be sure to have a catch pan underneath of here. It is going to leak like a sieve, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now with the U-joint bolts and straps off, you should have something like this. It's ready to be pulled out. Again, squeeze these two end pieces together. You don't want to lose that. You may have to tap the drive shaft out a little bit. Could be a tight fit. Have your catch can underneath of the slip yoke here, and when this comes out, it's going to lose a little bit of fluid from the transfer case area. Now for the front drive shaft removal, we're going to do the same thing on this side, but to remove this flange here, it's going to be a little bit tricky, right? Because this thing spins. Put the transfer case into 4 low or 4 high and lock the hubs in the front with the transmission in park, and that will keep everything all stationary so you can remove this. If you do need to rotate it, you'll have to get out, rotate it a little bit, then do the same thing. So put it into neutral, rotate, put it back into park, 4 high or 4 low, and lock the hubs. Alright, so something that I've been having a lot of luck with is just heating it up a little bit, and these break real easy after that. Alright, so at this point, we loosened up all the bolts from the flange. Drive shaft is out. So now, I'm going to be removing the skid plate. Your Blazer may or may not have this. 4 bolts there. Be sure to put a wrench up there. I'm going to use an impact and get those out. Alright, so now that we got that plate off, unscrew the speedometer wire, or cable rather. This just physically unscrews here. Pops right out, just like that. Now we're going to remove these linkages. It would be easiest to remove it from here, actually, back there. Back here is a cotter pin that slides through and you bend up one side, or both, but in my case one. And on this side, it's the same thing, but it's a lot harder to access. So I'm just going to attempt to remove it from here, and theoretically, this should just slide right out. Now, on the other side, we also have this shifter arm here. Takes care of the transmission. That is a pin that you can slide out. So, this hairpin you can slide out. Put a pair of pliers there, should pop right out. Move that to the side. Alright, so now that the linkage is off, on this side as well, up here is your 4x4 switch. Just unplug it from there like that, and now make sure that your speedometer, or not speedometer, I'm sorry, make sure that your kickdown switch is off. It's right here. Usually hooks up to the side of the kickdown solenoid. Just pull that off. In my case, it's a 1-wire. Yours may be a 2-wire depending on what transmission you got. Next, you're gonna just unhook this vacuum line like that, pull it off. Here, we now have to remove the transmission cooler lines, heat those up, break them, take them off, and then we're gonna take off this cover plate. Alright, so the next thing we want to do before we start removing any of the lines is to drain the transmission. So undo your oil pan, grab a catch pan underneath, and just let her all drain out. Alright, so upon removal of the inspection cover, you can see that we've got our torque converter here and our flex plate. It appears as though that the bolts are easily able to be undone on this side of the flex plate. However, it would be a ton easier if I'm able to remove this oil filter. So I'm gonna drain this all of oil. I'm not saying this is necessarily the right way to do it, but it is undoubtedly the easiest. Over there, I've got a breaker bar on the harmonic balancer. Turn that around. The engine moves. If you're staring at the front of the vehicle, it moves relative in a clockwise direction. So we're able to move this and take out all these torque converter bolts. So yeah, as you can see, we were able to remove that one torque converter bolt. There are much more. I'm currently using an impact. So, and now we are going to turn the torque converter from the engine pulley and stop. There we go. And now that that one's in place, we are able to take our impact tool. Mine has a joint on it, and then remove it. So I know a couple steps have elapsed, but here's what you want to do. Unbolt the transmission cross member, and then what you're gonna do is grab your transmission jack and support the transfer case and start dropping it about yay much, and you should be able to have some good access to all the hard to reach bolts. Personally, what I was using was this flexible impact socket, and also I've got this huge extension over here. Reached in over this side, have someone try to feel where the bolt is, and it'll come out. You just got to be persistent. And I also got that top one out. I don't know if you can see that on the top left of your screen. So now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna bring the transmission back up and support it, then take out all the other ones, and then we should be able to remove the transmission level and in one piece. All right, so now that we got the transmission out, what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove these bolts here on the adapter. And you can see on this side is where the transfer case is, and on this side is where the transmission is. If we undo these 6 bolts, I'm using a 14 mil wrench. Not sure if that's the right size, but it fits perfectly. Remove these, transmission should slide right out, and then you'll be able to swap in your new one. So as you can see, up in the front, I have replaced the pump seal gasket, or the input shaft gasket. Moving around here, this is the new transmission. I put this back together. I put a little bit of RTV red here. I knew that there was a leak going on with my old transmission, so I don't know if that seal went, but I had the rubber seal. I also put this past the rubber seal, so this way I can ensure a good seal overall. So now we're going to slide this underneath of the truck. My setup here is I've got the transmission jack there, and I've also got another regular car jack on the back, and this can actually swivel around because it's underneath of a a low point in the transfer case, so this can move around, and that has got 4 casters, so we can just slide this under nice and smooth. And then we're basically going to do everything in reverse, and see where that gets us. Just wanted to cover one last thing. When you get this torque converter in, when it slides in, it might look like it's all the way in, but it might not be. There's actually 2 output splines. What happens is you want to get the first one in, then keep rotating this until you find the sweet spot, and then push it in another probably about 1 inch. As you can see, it is recessed in, so it doesn't just stick out. So this is recessed in, push that all the way in, and now you're ready for the install. Okay, so now that the transmission has been aligned with the flex plate, you can see there, right here in the middle of your screen there, as well as, I don't know if we can see it actually. Can't really see the other side from here, but those are locating pins, and they index to the transmission. Like for example, that one goes into that hole. Get that aligned first. Bolt up the easy to bolt ones, such as this one down here, this one, and then do the top ones last, because you'll then be able to tilt the transmission down a little bit, and that should give you an advantage. Alright everyone, if you made it this far, you should have a new transmission installed. Just follow the steps in reverse. Install everything nice and safely. If this helped you out, please consider subscribing, drop a comment below, and smash that like button. Thanks for watching.